Hey everyone, Cell here. After my recent video showcasing the Infinite Sextant harvest strategy for Conqueror maps, I decided to run those Conqueror maps and some invitations as well. I am in solo self-found, so I didn't have a ton of invitations stockpiled or anything. I only had one, but fortunately it seems that there is an increased rate of dropping an invitation if you do the content that you need to do for that invitation anyways. So you have an increased chance of getting the Elder Slayer invitation from running Conqueror maps, or an increased chance of getting the hidden to drop from Breach Lords, for example. This is something I've observed personally. I don't know how much of an increase it is, but it's absolutely noticeable. And it's not something I see a lot of people talk about, so I thought I would just bring that up, I suppose, for anyone that might be in solo self-found. If you want to farm the invitations, just go ahead and run the maps. Have Maven witness as much as she can, and then run whatever you have in surplus. So, for example, I had like 8 or 10 more Baron and Veritania maps than the other ones, so I would just run 1 or 2 of those, and I'd usually get another invitation within a few maps. So that would be my suggestion as far as that goes. In total, I ended up running 15 or 16 invitations, so around about 3/4 rate of sustainment, I guess I would say. I don't even think that's a word, but basically I was able to do 3/4 of the invitations as the amount of maps I had would suggest, based on raw drops alone, which is pretty good in my opinion. So again, if you're in solo self-found, I probably just wouldn't worry about the amount of invitations you have, and try to overlap content that you want. So like, I specifically want to farm some Uber Cyrus, so I'm going ahead and doing all of these Conqueror maps anyways, and I also want to do Uber Maven, so getting the Crescent Splinters along the way is a nice bonus, and I try to maximize that where I can. Jumping in game here, the strategy itself isn't anything super complicated or anything. In terms of Atlas, basically the way I have this set up, I've got some like straggling nodes over here, so you don't need 132 to pull this strategy off or anything. You could even drop all the map nodes if you're really tight on points, because I didn't personally really care all that much about sustaining maps, since these are kind of bonus maps anyways. So essentially what you do is, if you're doing the hybrid Conqueror and invitation farming, is you run the Conqueror maps with Maven Witness, you stay spec'd into these nodes, including this one over here, the most toys. So we can unspec this here. 10% chance to basically get an additional witness from a random map boss. Now Conquerors are the only maps that the only Guardian maps that the Maven will witness the actual map boss itself, in addition to the Conqueror. So what I mean is, if you run this, and if I run a map that the Maven has not witnessed the map boss for, and I run Baron, let's say, then it'll say Maven progress 9 out of 10 on the Atlas invitation, and it'll tick Baron as well. So 2 birds, 1 stone sort of deal. You can squeeze out that extra invitation. You normally get 2 splinters if you roll the quantity high enough, but there's also the chance for other Guardian maps and things of that nature. So for something that takes 0 time, it's worth doing, especially because the Atlas invitations are so easy to come by comparison to everything else. So you stay spec'd into these points as well, and what we do is, these are totaling up to 18% quantity in the Maven's Crucible. The amount of splinters you're getting scales very linearly, it seems, with the amount of quantity in the Crucible. So By speccing into Wandering Path, I'll go ahead and do this again. These get boosted up to 6, totaling 36% increased quantity. For free, essentially, no extra difficulty. And you will always get an Orb of Unmaking from a successful invitation fight. So if you spec this out, and I'll do it again, and leave this point floating while you have the Maven witness things, then this costs 0 unmakings. Even if it costs a little bit, that's not a huge deal in the end. I also rolled most of my invitations to, well, all of them, I should say, to 70+%. I tried to go for 74 or higher. I didn't corrupt any of them because I didn't want to risk breaking them potentially, even though my build could probably handle corrupted invitations. I just went ahead and scour out them until they were 70 plus, ideally 74 plus, to hit a total of 110% quantity. I found I was successfully getting 6 splinters from invitations in that range. Beyond that, you can see I have Harvest Spect and focused on Yellow Life Force. There's a good strategy in trade as well to focus on the Yellow Life Force because it's worth more, because it has better uses generally, and so instead of monetary reasons, I'm going after that for those actual uses in Soul Self-Found, specifically to feed back into the infinite sextant strategy that I used to get the maps in the first place. So now I have a lot more life force to go ahead and try that strategy again, probably more successfully, even though it wasn't unsuccessful particularly before. Just less risk of running out of supplies, essentially. As for my build, this isn't super important. You can run this with whatever you want, as long as you're comfortable killing guardians with it, but I'm on an explosive trap saboteur, and I like this because you can preload traps for both the boss and the harvest that I was doing, and just pretty much not have to deal with any of the mechanics if your damage is high enough. So that's pretty much what I was doing. It's good enough defensively that I have been leveling. I'm 50% to 98. I think I started at level 95, so I've gotten a couple levels by doing this. But any build that can burst down a boss pretty quickly and still clear decently quick is going to be good for this strategy, I would say. Now, the actual loot itself. This is kind of a massive mess, so I'm not going to go over too much of this in-game, but we can search a few things here like Writ. You can see I have a handful of them. Some leftover splinters as well. You can look up Crest. These, well, apart from Black Sun Crest, are the Cyrus fragments, and what else? Life Force. Ended up with pretty big piles, in my opinion, of 23k Life Force. I did see a total of 3 or 4 tier 4 harvest beasts, but I did not get any sacred blossoms from them, unfortunately. But like I said, this will feed in nicely to the infinite sextant strategy if that's something you're interested in, or if you're in trade, you know, this stuff adds up when you're doing other strategies as well. And then as far as maps go, I mean, I guess I can do a map search as well. They're just, okay, there are some cards and such in here, but it's a ridiculous amount of over sustain, and like, I'm very likely to just throw away some of these maps doing a strategy where I literally just run to the Sanctum and call it a day, not even kill the boss or anything, I don't think. So that's pretty nice not to have to worry about things like that. A few other maps, shaper maps, things of that nature. There are some altar loot based things in here. You may have noticed I am spec'd into Eater of Worlds altars, and that's just for the times that I am not building up an invitation from Maven Witnesses. Even if you have the map boss not yet witnessed, if you have the Conqueror witnessed, she will not be able to witness the map. So, could not consistently run Maven. So I just ran Eater of Worlds if I was missing an invitation. Speaking of Maven, I also got 4 Awakened Gems. One of these is not the right one. I had Awaken Unbound Ailments, and I leveled that up to almost 5 during the process. And then Awaken Controlled Destruction and 2 Fire Pen. So, yeah, 4 gems in total. I did get a Voidborn Reliquary key for this Meginord's. Of course, heavy belt, gotta scare people, right? And in terms of rare loot, found this. This is not how it dropped. It dropped with just the fraction, nothing else, basically, and I threw 2 essences at it, and this is what came out of it. So I'll probably use that in this exact build. Actually, I might switch to a whatever it's called, Melding of the Flesh setup at some point. Anyways, I'm going to quickly go over the loot in Excellence, where it is much nicer to look at. Alright, here we are. And this is the snapshot of the loot, basically. Everything in that tab, and only that tab, as of when we just looked at it. And yeah, as you can see, most of the total value here is from the Maven's Writs and the Vivid Crystallized Life Force. I'm not really an economy guy. I've played solo self-found almost exclusively for the past like 6 years or more before they officially released the mode. So yeah, I don't know that this is a super viable strategy to make money or how well any of this stuff sells for, but yeah, I would just say this is the spread of loot. A Fate Worse Than Death, guess that is a decent thing to include here. I got 2 of them. They are pretty rare. I don't know how much quantity affects the drop rate of them. I assume it does to some degree, but some things are weird in that they don't, so I'm not really sure. Justified Ambition is significantly more common. 24 of those from 75 maps. That would put it at about a third. I think it's probably somewhere between a quarter and a third. And 5 of these are a random synthesis map. So, again, if you're in solo self-found, there's potential here to feed into any, say, forgotten invitations that you may have picked up along the way. I got quite a number of Exalted orbs as well. Conqueror Exalts, that is. What is this? 11 in total? Only 1 Crusader, but a decent amount of the rest. I feel like this is pretty lucky, but I don't know entirely for sure. Hunter holding the most value here because I believe there's a deterministic slam sort of deal you can do with chaos damage over time bows. So potential there for solo self-found use as well. Or if you're after a particularly high item level influence base, you can use any Exalt and then shuffle the influence with Harvest as well. Anyways, I don't think there's anything else of much particular value in here. I don't know what the price of Divine Orbs is right now. Maybe it's 200, something like that. Maybe a little less. But yeah, this is kind of, I guess, what you can expect. Most of the value is in things that come pretty statically. Like I said, you can reasonably expect to get the same number of splinters and therefore Maven Writs from each invitation if you roll them correctly and don't forget to turn on Wandering Path like I sometimes do. And the Crystallized Life Force is obviously always going to be in demand until they change something about it, of course. Anyways, that is pretty much the breakdown. Hope that helped some of you guys, or you found it entertaining. If so, feel free to give it a like, comment, or subscribe. Looking forward to making the next one, and let me know what type of stuff you guys want to see. I think I have some uber boss loot coming down the pipeline, now that I have all these fragments and Maven's Writs to run, so should be interesting. If you have any ideas for strategies you want to see me run in solo self-found, definitely let me know, and I will be very interested to see what you have to say and potentially try it out. Anyways, thanks for watching. Peace.